Hello everybody, welcome along to Assen as we get the cars shortly out onto the track for what's going to be the first of two 45-minute free practice sessions here and the 6th weekend of DTM 2021. I'm Chris Hartley. I'm going to talk you through this session, the next, and all of the action tomorrow and on Sunday, of course, with two more qualifying sessions to come, of which you can score championship points as well if you get into the top three, and of course the two 55-minute plus 1 lap races. So to Assen we come. It's the first visit here at Assen since we came here in the 2020 pandemic season, and then the first time that we ever raced DTM at Assen was in the 2019 season. So it's the third visit of DTM to this circuit. We started the year in Italy at Monza. We've been to the Lawson ring. We've been to Zolder in Belgium, where we had two back-to-back race weekends last year. The Nürburgring and the wonderful Red Bull Ring last time out, where the Ferraris were oh so dominant. There is Alex Albon, who had a mixed weekend, I think it's fair to say, in Spielberg, with one good drive with heavy weight on the car with his success ballast. He got a good 4th place finish in race 1, but picked up a puncture and out of the race and out of the points in the second race. But big news for him since we're at the Red Bull Ring, something that was talked about while we were there and was on the cards and has now been announced, is that Alex is going to be a Formula 1 racer once again next year as he heads to the Williams Grand Prix team, currently as a development driver for Red Bull and a reserve driver for Red Bull, with whom he raced in Formula 1 last season. There's Maxi Götz, who is a real championship contender this year, the Bavarian, who's 3rd in the championship now. He's had just the 1 win this season, but he's had 5 podium finishes, and he's only had 1 race this year out of the 10 so far where he's not finished in the points. So there's Alex Albon's Ferrari about to be wheeled out of the garage into the pit lane apron, ready to get into the session. And they're also carrying one of our onboard cameras this weekend. Is the 2-time champion Marco Vittman, the 2014 and 2016 DTM title winner, back in the DTM this year, but with a new team for him, with Volkenhorst, and doing an excellent job. He is 4th in the championship. He's had 1 win as well. That came at Zolder, and 3 podium finishes, the last of which came in the last race that we had, race 2 at the Red Bull Ring, where he finished in 2nd place, a very close 2nd place to Alex Albon's teammate Liam Lawson, who is right up there in the championship now in 2nd place after picking up 2 wins. He'd had a bit of a bad run up until we got to the Red Bull Ring. Had Liam Lawson started the season brilliantly, won the first ever race that he took part in DTM, round 1 at Monza, became the youngest ever DTM winner, the first New Zealander to win a DTM race. Won then, and then on day 2, Sunday at Monza, it all went a bit wrong as he got in a heated battle with Esteban Moot, but he had 2 2nd place finishes in the 2nd weekend at the Lawson ring. And then another podium at Zolder, although he had a non-finish there, but that was the start of his iffy run, really. He had 3 non-point scoring finishes out of 4 races to drop him away from Kelvin Van Der Linde in the championship fight. But with 2 wins and a pole position at the Red Bull Ring, he outscored everybody, and he dropped a point all weekend long, because he qualified 2nd in the other session. And that started to put this man under pressure now, because this is the championship leader, Kelvin Van Der Linde, new to DTM, but a very, very experienced GT racer. The South African, the older of the 2 Van Der Lindes that race here in the DTM. And his younger brother, Sheldon Van Der Linde, who's a DTM race winner as well, and got his DTM race win here at Assen last season. Spectacular weekend for him. Had a 7th place finish and a race win here, Sheldon Van Der Linde, but he has been absolutely clean out of luck the last few rounds of the championship. Every time he gets himself into a good position, bad luck strikes. So there's no better place to come, I would suspect, for Sheldon Van Der Linde than here, because, as I say, this is the scene of his greatest race so far in his DTM career. So this is the driver that is starting to put the pressure on now at the top of the championship board. Kelvin Van Der Linde has got 147 points. Liam Lawson has got 135 points, so just 12 points between them. We've got this weekend at Assen. 2 weeks' time we go to Hockenheim, and then the weekend after that, in mid-October, we head to the Norris Ring, a postponed race, normally run in the summer around the streets of Nuremberg, but that will be the venue for our final weekend of the season. So we've got 3 weekends to go. We've got 6 qualifying sessions, 6 races to go, and there's just 12 points at the top of the championship table, with 25 points for every race win available, 3 points for getting on pole position in every qualifying session. And you've only got 16 points between the top 3 as well, with Max Scots, who also gained ground on Kelvin Van Der Linde with 2 podium finishes at the Red Bull Ring.
We do out,
131 points.
and then in.
So there, the team radio. Alex Albon taking the AF Corsa Ferrari out onto the circuit, the Assen circuit, which, as far as I know, is going to be new to him in terms of a race weekend. Not somewhere off the top of my head he would have been when he was racing in European Formula 3 Championship, and certainly not when he came up through FIA Formula 3 and Formula 2. So Alex Albon, who's new to GT cars completely this season, but is doing an excellent job. He's 6th in the championship, but it's not that far away from Philip Ellis, who's just 5 points ahead of him in 5th place in the standings. He got his maiden win at the Nürburgring. He's had 2 other podium finishes, well, actually 1 other podium finish now. In terms of getting onto the rostrum itself, he was promoted up to 3rd place in the first race at Monza, but he didn't actually cross the line in 3rd position, and he's been a pretty consistent points finisher, albeit that bad luck which I talked about in race 2 at the Red Bull Ring just drops him off the pace a little bit in terms of the real championship contenders. Kelvin Van Der Linde said that the Audi would not be as strong in the second half of the season, just wouldn't be as well suited to the circuits that were on the calendar. That proved to be the case at the Red Bull Ring. He was easily the best of the Audis, Kelvin Van Der Linde, but he could only come home with a 5th and a 6th place finish, whereas Liam Lawson got the 2 wins, Max Scott's got 2 podiums, and Marco Vittman got a 2nd and a 7th. So that's why his lead at the top of the championship table has been much reduced. Right, you just saw a flash of the number 63 T3 Motorsport Lamborghini there, just behind Philip Ellis's Mercedes, and that's another in the long list of guest drivers that we've had coming into the championship this year. So T3 Motorsport running a 3rd Lamborghini, as they did at the Red Bull Ring when Maximilian Paul came in, but this time it's a very well-known and hugely successful GT racer. As you hear the team radio, that is behind the wheel of the car. Mirko Bertolotti, the Italian, former Blancpain GT champion, and a driver who, before he made his name in GTs...
It's a little bit hard right now. Try to be very slow and maybe a little bit more quiet.
You get the feedback, communication, which is always a part of this early stage of free practice. Drivers giving their feedback to the engineers on how the car feels at the stage. It's around about 15 degrees now. It's gone up a little bit now to 17 degrees, but it's not particularly warm at Assen. That's the air temperature. The track temperature not much higher, actually, at 18 degrees. Compare that with the Red Bull Ring, where the air temperature during the 2 races that we had there was around about 19-20 degrees, but the track temperature was over 40 degrees. So I'll be just getting a feel for how the tyres work up to speed in these colder, not cold, but colder conditions than we experienced 2 weeks ago in the Styrian Mountains. So Mirko Bertolotti, who is a Lamborghini works driver, has developed this car. He is the guest driver for T3 Motorsport this weekend, and a wealth of experience he brings to the team, but also to the 2 young drivers that are the regular drivers in the Lamborghinis. Esteban Muth, who's just 19, and Esme Hawke, who's just 23 years of age, who are both in their first seasons of DTM, and in Esme's case, her first season of international GT-style racing. So Philip Ellis, who's another of the drivers that made it onto the podium at the Red Bull Ring, had to fight very hard for it, but he now on the team radio.
Yes, I hear you, I hear you.
Just doing a communications check. So the circuit here at Assen, not a circuit that will be hugely familiar to quite a few drivers out there, and of course not that many drivers coming back to DTM from the 2020 season, and even in their case it's going to be completely different anyway, because they were racing the Class 1 DTM cars last year. Mike Rockenfeller, who had been having a good championship year up until he got to the Red Bull Ring, really. Well, up until race 2 at the Nürburgring, where he was at the back end, the sharp end of that incident between Liam Lawson and Kelvin Van Der Linde. Kelvin sent into the side of his teammate Mike Rockenfeller, both of them immediately out of the race. And then his bad luck continued at the following weekend at the Red Bull Ring, where he didn't get into the points in either of the races there. But up until that point, he'd been in the points in the top 10 in every single race for the first 7 races. And then he's gone 3 races without scoring a single point now, Mike Rockenfeller. So I'll be hoping for more. There's Maximilian Buch, who's in DTM for the first season as well. Was only expecting to be in for the first couple of weekends as a temporary stand-in for 2-time champion Gary Paffett, but Gary unable to contest this season, and so Max has come in and taken the seat full-time now for Peter Muka's squad, the Berlin-based team Muka Motorsport, with their Mercedes. Like Nico Mulla, who's looking like he's going to set a very quick benchmark time here. Max Gotzi's on a good time as well. Does a 1:35.2. Kelvin Van Der Linde set the quickest time so far with a 1:34.9, but Nico Mulla might just pip that. Let's see how he gets on when he crosses the line. Yes, he does. Goes to the top of the time. So the 2-time championship runner-up Nico Mulla, who's had a difficult time of late, goes quickest in the early stages here at Assen, 1:34.282. He's one of the drivers that, of course, knows the circuit from the last few seasons in DTM, and was on the podium twice here last year with 2 third-place finishes, but he is well clear of Kelvin Van Der Linde with that lap, 0.6 seconds clear. 1:34.2 for Mulla, 1:34.9 for Kelvin Van Der Linde, and Mirko Bortolotti has gone 3rd quickest, 1:35.150. Now, one important point to note with Mirko is that as a guest driver, he gets extra sets of tyres because this is his first weekend of DTM. Your first weekend in DTM, you get 2 extra sets of tyres, 2 extra sets of slick tyres. You get 5 to use through the weekend. Everybody else only get 3. So if you've only got 3 sets of new slicks and you've got 2 races and 2 qualifying sessions to make them last 4, you are unlikely to use your best tyres, your new tyres, for the practice sessions. Whereas Mirko can do just that. He can use a set of new tyres if he wants, and we've seen that before this year with drivers like Mikael Ammermuller coming in for one weekend and blitzing it on Friday because they've got better tyres than the regular runners, but then being caught up when it gets to qualifying on the Saturday morning. Another guest driver this weekend is Christian Klein, who's back for the 3rd time, the ex-Grand Prix race, the Austrian, who's a commentator these days, a very esteemed commentator as well, television commentator for Austrian TV for Formula 1. And Christian Klein and what's a relatively new team, JP Motorsport, who run the McLaren that he's raced a couple of times with this season, have really impressed with how they've got to grips with the cars. Now he has got to grips with DTM as well. It's been an improvement for Marco Vittman last time around with a 1:35.683, making him the best of the BMWs at the moment in 7th place. Sheldon Van Der Linde is only a 1/10 of a second behind him, though, in 8th place. You're right on board then with Liam Lawson in the 2nd place in the championship Red Bull AF course at Ferrari. He also leads the Junior Championship open to the younger drivers in the field. Liam Lawson's got 126 points in the Junior Championship. Sheldon Van Der Linde is 2nd on 38. So a huge advantage there, but it's the overall championship title that Liam will be absolutely after now, and the man on form. The disadvantage of winning a race in DTM is that for the next race, you get success ballast. The top 3 in a race carry success ballast into the next. So 25 kilograms if you win a race, 18 kilograms if you were 2nd, and 15 kilograms if you were 3rd. That didn't slow him down, though, in race 2, as he gets hard on the wheel there, fighting the car a little bit here, the Ferrari, Liam Lawson. He got his win in race 2, carrying that 25 kilograms of success ballast, leaping past Marco Vittman, who got the pole position and got the early race lead, thanks to good work by the team in the pits. So Lawson on his best laps so far. Timo Glock has popped up into 7th place. It's Mulla, Gotz and Van Der Linde, the top 3 at the moment. So Max Gotz still 9/10 of a second adrift, but he's starting to push up now. As you see Liam Lawson now coming out of the final turn, going over the start-finish line. The circuit, which has some very high-speed sections, but some tight, twisty turns as well. Racing at Assen first started in the mid-1950s, but as a much, much longer street circuit, which used to link several local villages. Still known as the Assen TT circuit, because it was the TT Trophy that was the first ever motorsport event run in these parts. The famous motorcycle Grand Prix race. DTM enjoying what's a track that's developed over the years and invested millions and millions of euros in this circuit in years gone by to upgrade it. Of course, it hosts MotoGP, it's hosted World Superbikes, it's hosted Champ Cars in the past as well. So it's a brilliant facility, great facilities and grandstands for the public who are going to be here this weekend as well, as Nico Mulla sets the absolute best first sector time. Mirko Bortolotti has gone second with a 1:34.450. Times, as I say, it's not all about times in practice. Yes, they want to get some quick lap times in to see how the car handles when they're going for a qualifying run tomorrow morning, but they also need the cars to handle well over a longer distance and get the car set up for race pace as well. So the practice sessions should be a mix of trying a few quick laps, but also probably in this first session stringing 6 or 7 or 8 lap runs together to see what effect that has on the tyres. Only a couple of years ago, the circuit was resurfaced, so in that respect, it's not an abrasive surface. We'll see if that would have a big effect on how the tyre degradation plays out. Certainly the Red Bull Ring, tyre degradation wasn't really much of an issue compared to some of the other circuits we've been to. Bortolotti goes quicker again, last time through, up to second place now, and he's got the gap down to just under 0.3 of a second. Mulla into the pits, still the quickest though, still looking for his first podium finish of the year since the very first weekend at Monza, race 2 at Monza. Last time Nico Mulla was on the podium, and there you thought, okay, Nico's going to be a contender this year for the championship, but it just hasn't quite worked out, I'm afraid. And he's been struggling with the car over the last few weekends. Another Audi driver is Sophia Florsch, ex-German Formula 4 racer, who's really developed and spread out in terms of the types of cars and types of championships she's been racing in over the last couple of years. Raced at Le Mans, an all-female race crew a couple of months ago, which is why she missed the Nürburgring event. But she's looking for her first championship points this weekend. She gets to grips with the car, the team and the championship. On board with number 4, Max Scots, who is currently 3rd quickest with his best time at 1:34.6, about 0.9 of a second away from the absolute best first time of the session. On the attack through turn 1 and then into this tight complex, really. Turns 2, 3, 4 and 5 all run into one another. The exit to turn 5, which is a hairpin really, the left-hander coming up, very slow corner, down to double figures in terms of kilometres an hour, but you've got to get a good run out of there, because then you're onto a fast, long straight going up towards the end of the first sector. So it's all about the exit there, and this is where the circuit then starts to open out through the kink at turn 6 and then into 7. It widens out. Ramshock is the quickest corner on the lap. Turn 15, really quick left-hander, where they fly after that into one of the chicanes. There's another of them, which they take at great speed. Some good races here last year at Assen in DTM. Max Scott, you can see, is absolutely pushing that Mercedes hard as he goes onto the curbs. And the HRT drivers, former GT Masters frontrunner and champion Max Scots, so knows these types of cars well, and of course previously raced in Class 1 cars in DTM as well. It's his 3rd season of DTM. He's never had back-to-back seasons in the championship. So Scott's working hard at the wheel, taking the onboard camera for a wild ride over the curbs at times, and to see if maybe on the next lap he can find a bit more pace. Number 3, Kelvin Van Der Linde, you ride on board with now, the championship leader and a driver who has been winning races and getting podiums this year, but has also had a very wise head on his shoulders in terms of stringing the points together. Just the one non-finish this year, involved in that incident with Liam Lawson at the Nürburgring.
Copy. Is the car in balance? Question.
Yes, confirm.
So they're even at speed on the team radio. Kelvin Van Der Linde trying to convey some feedback to the team as to just how the car is handling. Finding the right moment to reply to his engineer, though. So on board with the South African. 3 wins this year at Monza, Zolder and the Nürburgring. Only 1 non-points finish this season at the Nürburgring. but losing a big chunk of his championship points advantage to Liam Lawson, who started the weekend at Red Bull Ring in 5th, and by the end of the weekend was up to 2nd place in the championship, having scored almost perfect numbers at the Red Bull Ring. He got a perfect 50 points from the 2 race wins. He got 3 points for getting pole position for race 1, and he almost got pole position for race 2 as well, Liam Lawson, so scored 55 from a possible 56 championship points, which is why he's now within striking distance. So Nico Mulla, who's the quickest, is in the pits. Mirko Bortolotti, who is 2nd, is still out on track. Max Scots has come into the pits now. He's 3rd quickest. Kelvin Van Der Linde, who you're watching, is going pretty well at the moment. 4th place, 1:34.719. That's almost a second slower than Nico Mulla's best time. Christian Clean in the JP Motorsport McLaren has gone 5th quickest. He's headed into the pits now. And Daniel Hungadea, who looked like he was going to get a good top 6 finish at the second race at the Red Bull Ring in Austria until he picked up a penalty. He's going pretty well at the moment. He is in 6th place in the session, 1:34.893. That's over a second adrift. Philip Ellis 7th, Alex Albon 8th, Mike Rockenfeller, the 2013 champion, 9th, and 2-time champion Marco Vittman 10th at the moment. But we never worry about Marco in Free Practice 1 because he never shows that much single lap pace in Free Practice 1. He goes usually quicker relatively to the others in Free Practice 2, but he saves the best usually for Saturday and Sunday. So Marco Vittman, definitely with the team, struggled a little bit with qualifying setup for the first few rounds of the championship. They've very much nailed that now, and he's been one of the better qualifiers in the last couple of weekends, culminating in what was a very strong pole position for race 2 at the Red Bull Ring. He was disappointed not to take the victory there. Sees himself very much as a championship contender. But in terms of qualifying, the last 6 sessions, he's been in the top 3 in all but one of them. He was 7th in the other one, so that wasn't too bad. So he has 2 poles, and he started on the 2nd row of the grid on 3 other occasions. Compare that with the first 2 weekends of the season at Monza and the Lausitz Ring, where his best qualifying was 10th, 14th, 14th and 14th on the grid for Marco Vittman. That is why he's really shot up into the championship front-running mix, because he's got qualifying. The team have got qualifying sorted once they've got past those first couple of rounds, and that's set him up well. The race pace has always been good on that BMW, and we know a great driver he is. As Kelvin Van Der Linde, in his last lap, found a bit more time, 1:34.617. He's still just under 9/10 down. There's Vincent Abril, who's started to pick up regular points now. He's gone for his first flying lap here. Hasn't really put a competitive lap time in yet, but that's not bad at all. 5th place for Vincent, so 1:34.658. Driver who is, again, well-versed in GT cars. Vincent Abril, the Monegasque driver. We'll know Mirko Bortolotti from his Blancpain GT racing days. He was the GT Series Sprint Cup champion back in 2015. Started his career in French GT racing and Seat Leon Supercopa. He's raced at Le Mans, he's raced at Bathurst, so he's only 26, Vincent Abril, but brings plenty of experience to the table. He's the other HRT Mercedes, very different livery to Max Scots, but they run in the same team. There is Alex Albon, 2022 Williams Formula 1 driver. We're very pleased to have him in DTM this year. The Thai driver has been one of the race winners this year. We've had 6 different race winners so far this year. On board with the Volkenhorst Motorsport driver, Marco Vittman then. Daniel Hungadea has gone 3rd quickest. It's very tight, 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. Not much between them at all. The top 2 have got a big gap at the moment though, Mulla and Bortolotti. Marco Vittman is only 9th currently. He's the best BMW as it stands. 1:35.1 though is almost 1.4 seconds adrift of the best time of the session so far. So 21 cars in the field this weekend, and everybody's been out on track so far. Great view there looking at the driver, and you can see just how much they work away at the wheel of these cars. Full focus and very little body movement in the upper body. It's all the arms, the shoulders, the forearms. So Marco Vittman on a decent charge. Lucas Hours improved that to 11th. Sophia Florsch has just improved Best lap for her so far into 15th place. As Mike Rockenfeller, Formula One winner, goes back out onto the circuit. Going to rejoin either just in front or just behind Sophia Florsch. Different livery on the car, but she's teammate to the championship leader Kelvin Van Der Linde and to Mike Rockenfeller. 3 AB Sportsline cars. AB who had a victory here with Robin Freins, the Dutch driver, last season. He was a real championship contender. Nico Mulla then back out onto the circuit. Championship runner-up in DTM last year and the year before. Just missing out on both occasions to Renee Rast, a 3-time DTM champion who has concentrated on racing in Formula E this year, but was part of the German commentary TV team the last time out at the Red Bull Ring. And was also doing some media work as well. And I think he was involved with some running of the DTM electric car, getting it to and from the grid, the DTM electric car, which ran remotely before race 2 at Spielberg. Driven from Graz, something like 80 kilometres away, to a remote lap of the circuit, thanks to the technology that Schaeffler have been putting into that. But Renee was at times going around the circuit and the paddock with the race suit and race helmet on, which probably worried a few of the others. He was a Team Rosberg driver last year, going up against Nico Mulla. He's stepped out of DTM for now, but his place at Team Rosberg has been taken by the driver he beat to the championship last year, Nico Mulla, in that 51 Team Rosberg car. On board then with Liam Lawson, second in the championship. Where's he at the moment? Only 11th place. His Ferrari teammate Alex Albon currently in 15th place, so 135's there, and in fact a 135 dead for Liam Lawson last time around. Puts him considerably off the pace at the moment, but we don't know what they're running through in terms of their programme. Is he going for quick lap times, or is he just going for setup on the longer runs? Sheldon van der Linde has improved, and now the best BMW with the 134.881 up to 8th place. Timo Glock, another BMW in the top 10, the ex-Grand Prix racer, into 10th place just about. Timo, who's never been on the podium here, only had 2 years racing DTM here, 2019 and 2020, but 5th place the best for Timo. He had a 6th place finish last year, so he's had some decent results here. So the cars really rattle the curbs as they go through the final sequence at turns 16, 17 and 18. The Red Bull AF Corsa, which handled so well around what was a very different type of circuit at the Red Bull Ring. How will it fare here? It's one of the really interesting things about DTM this year, with all these different manufacturers on board, these different teams, these different types of cars. If you're strong one weekend, it does not necessarily mean you get to the next track, the next country, and you're strong there. It's a real good mix of circuits, and the one big unknown for a lot of these drivers is going to be the Norris Ring, of course, the final weekend of the season, and then you start to have question marks about what the weather's going to do as well when you get to mid-October. So if you're in a position to score good points here this weekend, you've got to make the most of it and capitalise upon it. And Liam Lawson certainly capitalised upon the strength of his car at the Red Bull Ring last time out with those 2 race wins. Mike Rockenfeller's third with the 134.368. So that's his first real flying lap for Rocky. That puts him to within 6/10 of Mulla, who's gone back in the pits now. So Nico Mulla, 133.724, the best lap time. Mirko Bortolotti, 133.993, the guest driver in second. Audi from Lamborghini, then 2 more Audis, Rockenfeller and Van der Linde. And the Audi struggled for sure at the Red Bull Ring, but this is a promising start for the Ingolstadt manufacturer. They've got 3 of the top 4 spaces at the moment. And then you got Mercedes, Vincent Abril, Daniel Hunkedaer 5th, 6th, and Max Gort 7th. 3 Mercedes together. Van der Linde's BMW and Christian Klein's McLaren 8th and 9th, and then the Mercedes of Philip Ellis in 10th place. So Liam Lawson goes around with a 135.240. That's within 2/10 of his best lap. And super slow-mo replay of Alex Albon here. Car bouncing and skipping over the tarmac as he pushes it to the limit on the Michelin tyres. How's he going on at the moment? Last time around, Alex Albon did a 135.6. His best is 135.1. See him really working away at the wheel here. getting to grips with the circuit, the car. It's what this practice session is all about, but he's a quick learner, as we've already seen so far this year in DTM. Podium finisher on 2 occasions in the 2020 Formula 1 World Championship as a Red Bull driver. And we had a busy period as well for his teammate Liam Lawson, having had a bit of a summer break from Formula 2, which he's also racing in this year. He was in action at Monza last weekend and had a bit of bad luck, but was a front runner. Certainly had good pace, Liam Lawson, who's already been a race winner in the FIA Formula 2 Championship this season, but that's 3 back-to-back weekends now for Liam between his DTM and Formula 2 duties. Right, there's Timo Glock, who's doing okay at the moment in 11th place. In terms of lap times at the moment, the quickest driver out on the track is, I think, Kelvin Van Der Linde, 1:35.015. So new personal best sectors and absolute best sectors and lap times are not coming up, and they're going on to longer runs now, but pretty good pace for Kelvin. 1:35.0, his flying lap, his best flying lap, 1:34.4, about just over half a second adrift of that. And he's getting a replay of Timo Glock working his way in the Rover Racing BMW. And just taking a bit too much curb there, probably. Something no doubt the officials are going to be looking at. In fact, they're already looking at it, because I can see, just like we had, as we see a stricken curb marker there right in the middle of the circuit, just as we had at the Red Bull Ring, the messages have started to come up from race control already. You must respect the track limits at turn 2. You must respect the track limits at turn 18. And eventually, drivers were getting penalised at the Red Bull Ring. And they're straight on it. You can use the curb, but don't put all 4 wheels over the curb. And straight line the corners. You've got to stay within the boundary of the circuit. The racing drivers will try and push and push and push the limits of the circuit as much as they can. So they're being watched, and they've also got Esme Hawkey under investigation for pit lane speeding as well. That's in amongst a plethora of track limits issues. Too many to mention, but pretty much every driver has had one. So this could be a good, really good experience this weekend for 19-year-old Esteban Moot, with such an experienced driver as part of the team, Mirko Bortolotti. It can only be a good thing for Esteban. Lamborghini's struggled really for pace at the Red Bull Ring. It was their weakest weekend in terms of performance and results. But we know that when the car is on song, particularly in the races, although he has been a good qualifier at times as well, Esteban Moot, he can make the Hurricane fly. Philip Ellis and Maximilian Buch, 2 drivers that improved last time around. Ellis is 8th. Max Buch is currently in 11th position. So Esteban Moot is the slowest at the moment in terms of single pace. He's done a 1:36.3. So his best lap times, 2.6 seconds adrift. More to come from Esteban. Trouble with the car at the Red Bull Ring as well. So he missed one of the practice sessions, which didn't help. But Esteban, the only Belgian driver in the field, pushing on. Let's see if he can get a better qualifying that he had in Austria. Get better pace on the car. It's only his 6th weekend in DTM. And again, he's not got that much GT experience or touring car experience either. Selected GT4 races last year. But prior to that, really, single-seaters was where he concentrated in things like Japanese Formula 3, where he did selected races, Formula Renault Euro Cup, did Toyota Racing Series. His only real full campaign was in the French Formula 4 Championship 3 years ago, where he finished with a couple of wins and a 7th place in the title standings. So Esteban, it's all very new to him, but he's certainly proven that he's got lots and lots of potential. So Lamborghini ahead of 2 Mercedes here. Vincent Abril out on track. That's our first view of Arjun Maini this weekend, I think. He had a really good weekend at the Red Bull Ring. Having at the Nürburgring finally picked up his first championship points, which had been coming and which bad luck had robbed him of a couple of times, but he got into the points there, and then he was well up in terms of his pace at the Red Bull Ring, qualifying 3rd for race 1, and was in the hunt for much of the race for a podium finish. But top 6 he got in the end. 6th place, his best result so far. He goes out. There's Kelvin Van Der Linde coming down the pit lane and heading into the AB Sportsline box. one thing they will do, possibly more so in free practice too, is practice the tyre changes as well. Really important for the teams with the mandatory pit stop in each of the races. So Mulla is out on track again, still the quickest, but the next three, Bortolotti, Rockenfeller and Van Der Linde, are all in the pit lane currently. Vincent Abril, we've seen out on track, he's fifth. Daniel Hagedea, ex-Formula 3 European champion, is sixth, he's on track. Max Scots is seventh now, he's in the pits. And then Ellis, Sheldon Van Der Linde and Clean, all in the top 10, all back out on track at the moment. Esteban Moot improved with that lap that we watched. He's still only 20th, but a 1:35.6 now, a much more competitive lap time, as Maximilian Buch heads out in the Mercedes for Muka Motorsport. Doing okay at the moment, currently in 11th place. Didn't have his strongest weekend at the Red Bull Ring. He's a driver that's pushed up and scored points so far this year. Perhaps needs to get a bit more out of qualifying to really fight for regular top 10, top 6 finishes. But Max did a pretty good job so far this year. I'm going to say a year which he wasn't expecting to complete as a DTM driver, but he's ending up doing the full season, which is only good for him. And very much enjoying the challenge. Right, here's the Gruppa M Mercedes of Daniel Hagedea, which is just coming off track as Christian Clean puts the JP Motorsport McLaren up to 4th place, 1:34.477 for Christian. So that's an excellent effort, bearing in mind that he's only doing, well, I think this is his final weekend now in the championship. He's only doing selected rounds as a guest driver, Christian Clean. Did back-to-back events at Zolder and the Nürburgring. That was the last time we saw him. And best finish so far for Christian, couple of 12th place finishes, but has qualified well as well. He qualified in the top 10 for 2 of the qualifying sessions, one each at Zolder and the Nürburgring, so it's not a massive surprise to see him up there. Ex-Grand Prix racer, 4th place at the moment in the number 15 McLaren, 1:34.408. So now you've got the top 10 all within 9/10 of a second of each other. It's a relatively long circuit as well at Assen, 4.5 kilometres long, which is about 2.8 miles. It's 12 right turns, 6 left turns, and the longest straight is over half a kilometre long, 560 metres long. So pit crew ready. Straight back in for Maximilian Buch, and practice tyre change for them it will be. Stationary time for a really, really good pit stop this year is around about 6 to 6.5 seconds. But anywhere 7 or 8 seconds is not bad. That's the sort of times they are looking for. Only 6 can work on the car at any one time during the pit stop. So gone are the days of the super quick pit stops in Class 1, where you were looking at 2 or 3 seconds. As Vincent Abril finds a bit more pace, he's pushed Clean down to 5th place now. Up to 4th has come Vincent with a 1:34.408. That's only 40 thousandths of a second slower than Mike Rockenfeller as well. Top 3 all in the pits currently, Mulla, Bortolotti and Rockenfeller. So Abril is the quickest driver on track at the moment. The next quickest driver is Sheldon Van Der Linde at the moment. He's done a 1:34.644, and they're the only 2 drivers in the 1:34s currently. Christian Clean just did a very low 1:35, 1:35.06, and a 1:35.3 for Liam Lawson. So Liam is lapping within 0.3 of a second of his best lap time. It's been fairly busy in this session though, as of most of them actually. The busiest driver has been Daniel Hagedea, who's done 20 laps in the session now. Most of them in and around 17 laps. A few of them have been a bit less busy. Bortolotti's only done 13 laps. Muller's only done 14 laps, even though he's quickest. And Timo Glock's only done 13 laps as well. Sets the acceleration on these cars there with the onboard shot. And the noise, the cacophony of noise inside the cockpit as well. It's a fearsome place to be, the cockpit of a race car. And you're not used to it when you haven't been there before. It's all completely normal to these drivers, of course, but I think the noise inside the cockpit of a closed cockpit race car is the one thing nobody really warns you about. The speed, yes, the acceleration, yes, everything else, but the noise is something else. And toned down on the onboard camera, that might compared to what it would be if you're actually inside the car as well. I think it's the final 10 minutes of the session then. It's Marco Vittman. He's down to 16th place now. Vitt goes back out. You've got Philip Ellis currently in the pits as well. But about 3/4 of the field out on track. So it's starting to get busier now out on the circuit. More track limits messages coming up for Arjun Maini, for Vincent Abril. And also last time around for Alex Albon.
Yeah, immediately it got a lot better with tire pressures, but they started to creep up again a bit. Yeah, copy. Lap times were quite good.
So there, team radio from Philip Ellis. Pressure's creeping up a little bit, but lap time's okay. But nothing to scream about yet. Vincent Abril has improved up to 3rd place with the 1:34.224, exactly half a second away from that man, Nico Mulla, who's heading back out onto the circuit now, the Swiss driver. Only 2 drivers, Mulla and Bortolotti, have got into the 1:33 so far. 1:33.7 for Mulla, 1:33.9 for Bortolotti. Still got that stricken and stranded marker there, but it's well off the racing line really, so shouldn't be an issue. But obviously took a good whack from somebody. And there you go. There was the culprit, and it was Dev Gore, Team Rosberg teammate to Nico Mulla, that wiped it out. And over the curbs a bit too much on the entrance. So that's there, but the officials have been happy to leave it there now without any sort of need to bring the session to a temporary halt to remove it. Happy that it's far enough off the line not to be an issue for the rest of the drivers. In and out of the pits at the moment for Max Buch. He's been out for a lap, he's come in, he's been out for a lap, he's come in. So Buch in again. Arjun Maini has just put his best lap of the session in to go 11th. He was 11th. Marco Vittman has just taken that place away from him. You're right on board with him now. 1:34.690. You've got Max Scots in 8th, Philip Ellis 9th, Kelvin Van Der Linde 10th, and Marco Vittman 11th, all in the 1:34.6s. It's very tightly packed, actually. You take away the first 2, Mulla and Bortolotti, then from 3rd, which is Vincent Abril, down to 11th, Marco Vittman. You only got half a second. Well, it's a relatively long lap of over a minute and a half here. You see from the tower graphic on your left that you have to look quite a long way down the order to find that Ferrari badge currently. 16th for Lawson and 18th for Albon. Timo Glock, personal best set to 1, personal best set to 2 as well. Set to 1 takes in turn 1, and then that tight complex which weaves in and out on itself through turns 2, 3, 4 and 5, and ends 3/4 of the way down that back straight. Turn 2 set to 2 takes in turn 6. The right-hander at the end of that straight, turn 7. The 90-degree right-handers at turn 8. 90-degree left-hander at turn 9. Far side of the circuit at 10 and 11, and then the final intermediate takes in the really quick section at the end of the lap. Turns 12, 13, 14, 15, and the chicane at 16 onwards. So in terms of the way the lap is split up, Mulla has been quickest overall in set to 1 and set to 2. I think it's Kelvin Van Der Linde who's got the quickest, no, sorry, it's Bortolotti who's got the quickest 3rd sector time. But the 3rd sector is the shorter sector in terms of time. Set to 1, he's around about 35 seconds. It's about the same for set to 2. It's only about 21 seconds for set to 3. Right, there is Lucas Auer out on track, having enjoyed his home race in Austria. The man from St. Johann goes into 7th place as well. Multiple DTM race winner, 5 times a winner in the DTM. And Lucas Auer, having spent the season with BMW last year, back to being in his regular role as a Mercedes DTM driver this year. Came back into DTM last year after a year away, racing internationally, but he's come back and has looked very strong at times, Lucas Auer. So 1:34.526. Personal best in all 3 sectors. Might we get 1 or 2 more drivers pushing for a qualifying type run now in the final 5 minutes of the session as well. Air temperature has just crept up a little bit, pushing up towards 18 degrees now. Track temperature still only about 19 degrees. Alex Albon, personal best through the 1st sector. Lost time in the middle sector, and through he goes with a 1:35.066, which is his best lap of the session, but still some way off the absolute best pace. Esteban Moot has improved, but only up to 19th, and there for the weekend is his teammate Mirko Bortolotti. Very nearly made it to Formula 1. He had a test drive with Ferrari when he was a young Formula 2 star, and he also had a test drive as a young driver test session with the Williams Grand Prix team back in 2007, but he never quite made it to Formula 1. But Bortolotti was somebody who was very highly rated as a single-seater racer, initially in Italy, and then graduating to the FIA Formula 2 championship. But then when it became apparent he wasn't quite going to make it to Formula 1, didn't quite have the backing to do so. It's not just about talent, of course, it's about having the backing to do so. That's when he started to concentrate on GTs. He was an FIA Formula 2 champion 10 years ago, but has since spent a lot of time racing GTs. Class winner on 2 occasions at the Daytona 24 Hours, and recently in 2019 was a runner-up in the ADAC GT Masters Championship as well. Blancpain GT champion back in 2017. So there is Mike Rockenfeller. Philip Ellis has gone quickest, 1:33.684, kind of out of the blue almost. So he was obviously going for longer run pace earlier on. Kelvin Van Der Linde wrestling with the car as he took to the curbs there, shaking the nose of the car a little bit. And the Rover Racing BMWs in the background is just behind him. So Kelvin Van Der Linde just made his way out of turn 5, and it's Timo Glock, the car that's behind him, looking at the track map. So into turn 6 and 7 he goes at the moment, with Philip Ellis with the new best lap of the session, 1:33.684. It's only 40 thousandths quicker than Nico Mulla. As we get towards the end of free practice 1, Bortolotti on track 3rd. In fact, all of the top 10 are out on the track at the moment, so it's pretty busy. You only got Max Scots, Marco Vittman and Dev Gore in the pit lane. Almost everybody out on track, including this man, Liam Lawson, the driver 2nd in the championship, the 19-year-old New Zealander. He's on a better lap here as well. Personal bests in the first 2 sectors, they're pretty good compared to the best sector times as well. Mid-36 in sector 1 and mid-36 in sector 2. Throws it over the curbs, coming out through the final sequence, goes over the line. Should be his best lap of the session. It puts him 3rd. So 3rd place for Lawson. Ferrari suddenly showing its real raw pace, 1:33.943 seconds. It's just about a quarter of a second away from Philip Ellis, who banged in that 1 lap time and has gone straight into the pits. So Ellis in the pits, having set the new benchmark time. Mulla is out on track, and his last lap was a 1:34.3, which is about 6/10 away from his best lap of the session. Who else is going quickly on track? Esteban Moot is up to 6th place now, just at a 1:34.2, 1:34.7 for Max Buch. So they're the quicker drivers on track currently. There is Esteban Moot, picture of concentration, visor up, glances to the right, looks in the mirror, goes down through the gears in the final minute and a half of the session. Personal bests in sectors 1 and 2, the key sectors. And that's a reasonable amount of time. In fact, he backed off through the last sector on the previous lap, so it could have been even quicker than his best lap, but he didn't quite complete the lap. Backed off the pace. Sophia Florsch, currently in 20th position, heading into the pits at the end of the session with the 1:35.4 as her best so far. Haven't seen very much of Esme Hawkey, although she's done enough laps. Again, Esme having to learn the circuits this year. There's only Monza on the calendar that she'd raced at before, and a Porsche away day when she's part of the Porsche Carrera Cup GB for 2 seasons. Pro-Am champion last year. It was the season before, I think, she went to Monza, but in a very different type of car. At least she knew her way around Monza. Everywhere else, apart from wherever she's been testing, she's had to learn. Right, Christian Kleen. Let's proper look at Christian. JP Motorsport Squad, the German team, Austrian driver, doing a good job in this session. He was 4th at one point, he's 9th at the moment, but he's within just over 3/4 of a second of the best time of the session. I think a lot of people would be very happy if that car, that team, and that driver came back for a full campaign in 2022. Certainly been quick learners for the DTM. It's great to have the McLaren out there as well. So Mercedes, BMW, Audi, Ferrari, Lamborghini, McLaren, all in action, all out on track. checkered flag comes out on the session. It looks like Philip Ellis is going to top the times with that 1:33.684. Got a few others improving. Max Spook, personal best lap time, but it's only to 12th place for him. Philip Ellis with a fraction of an advantage over Nico Mulla, who topped the times for most of the session, as Christian Kleen comes up to the back of Vincent Abril, who's slowing down now. They've both taken the checkered flag. Abril's going to end the session in 5th place, just over half a second adrift of the best time of the session with a 1:34.224, just over half a second away from Philip Ellis's best time. So Ellis, Mulla and Lawson and Bortolotti as well, the drivers that made it under the 1:34 barrier. Replay of Christian Kleen's super slow-mo with a few bits of bodywork becoming detached from the McLaren as he thundered over the start-finish line. A little bit lighter than it was at the start of the lap. So still a few cars out there yet to take the checkered flag. Max Spook is one of them, but he's not going to improve on this final lap, so he might head to the pits anyway rather than take the line. Daniel Hunkadeo, he was up there at the start of the session, but everybody got, well, not everybody, but a lot of drivers got quicker in the last 10-15 minutes, so he was top 6 for a long time, but ends up 13th place, Hunkadeo. They said to me last time out at the Red Bull Ring, it's the brakes that we've been really struggling with. We've just been a bit lost with the setup, and they tried something radical for race 2 at the Red Bull Ring, and he had really good pace in that race. It was only a penalty that put him out of a good result, out of contention for a really good result. So I've been working on the brakes. It's not a new team, but it's a new team to DTM, the Hong Kong-based Group M squad. So still a learning curve, but with a very experienced driver. Well versus DTM race, the Spaniard Daniel Hunkadeo with them. So Philip Ellis will put the Mercedes badge at the top of the times at the end of this first 45-minute free practice session with a 1:33.684. Nico Mulla, promising start to the weekend. He needs a good weekend after a rough ride over the last 2 or 3 events. He's second quickest. Liam Lawson, he'll be looking for his 3rd consecutive race win when we get to tomorrow. 3rd quickest with just over a quarter of a second adrift. Bortolotti, the guest driver, 4th. Abril, Moot at 5th and 6th. Rockenfeller 7th. Auer, Kleen and Kelvin Van Der Linde, the championship leader, rounded out the top 10. Marco Vittman down in 16th place, but don't worry, he's never that quick in free practice 1 if you're a Marco Vittman fan. That's it for the first 45-minute free practice session. We'll be back in a couple of hours' time for another 45 minutes of action here at Assen. But for now, from the team and from me, Chris Hartley, thanks for watching. We'll speak to you again from Assen later on today. Bye for now.